Part 95. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 941. Su Tianqian raised his head, with tears in his eyes, buried his head in my chest, and held my waist tightly with his hands. Good. Su Tianqian murmured softly. I jumped to the shore with Su Tianqian in my arms. Zhao Mian felt the change in me and quickly came to my side. He looked me up and down and said, "It's a bit stronger than I thought, but I can't repel him with just this strength." I put down Su Tianqian, looked at Zhao Mian, and asked, "What else can you do? Just don't hide it. If I die, it won't be a good thing for you." Zhao Mian chuckled, picked up the sword technique, and pointed it directly at the center of my eyebrows. "You are right, then I will help you. Let me remind you of some previous things." Zhao Mian's finger touched the center of my eyebrows, and the next moment, the golden light shone brightly. There are also some strange memory images in my mind. In the picture, I seem to be talking to someone. Just listen to the vague figure saying, "Reincarnate for eternity, just to have a free body and escape from the gods. Is it worth it for you?" I replied, "It's worth it. This world has changed. Whether it is the underworld or the human world, it has gone against everything in the past. Not only do I want to break away from the way of heaven and the throne of God, but I also want to change everything for you." The man added, "Only killing can change everything. I don't think your method is feasible." The figure of the man in the picture is very familiar to me, but I just can't see his face. This figure, I seem to see it often. The scene stopped abruptly. My eyes returned to the coast again. Zhao Mian looked at me with a smile and said, "How is it? Your Majesty? How do you feel?" As soon as Zhao Mian finished speaking, a powerful aura of awe broke out from my body. At this moment, I feel like an emperor above heaven and earth. I never thought that I would have such a powerful aura of crepe myrtle. The general's corpse aura plus the aura of Ziwei, I don't know how much stronger I am. Zhao Mian said, "This method can only temporarily mobilize the pure crepe myrtle energy in your body, but it is enough to repel him." His voice paused and he said, "But, you have to be careful. Once the energy of Ziwei dissipates, you may be swallowed by the will of Jin Mahuan." At this moment, the wind roared behind me, and the man slowly walked towards me. His expression was extremely gloomy, and the vicious and malicious look in his eyes almost swallowed me up. The time for one stick of incense has passed half, and now as long as I can survive half the time for one stick of incense, I can take Su Tianqian away. The man kneaded his hands and said coldly, "Boy, you have completely angered me." I also looked at him coldly, and the corpse aura and crepe myrtle aura emanating from my body made him a little afraid. I looked at the man's hair that seemed to be thunder. As soon as this idea appeared, I saw dark clouds rolling in the sky, thunder and lightning circling, and a huge thunder dragon flying among the dark clouds. I originally wanted to save your soul for Tianxuan's sake, but now it seems that you are still in disgrace." The man shouted loudly, and the hovering thunder dragon roared down and rushed straight towards me. My expression froze, and I suddenly stretched out my left hand to activate the pure lotus seal. The white lotus shadow emerged around me, wrapping Su Tianqian and me in it. The thunder dragon slammed into the white lotus with the power to destroy the world. The next moment, something that no one expected happened. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 942. The powerful thunder dragon turned into white lotuses floating in the air. The white lotus flying all over the sky is like a heavy white snow. Seeing this scene, I was extremely surprised. The general's power plus the energy of Ziwei can actually increase my strength so much in a short period of time. If it were before, I would never have been able to block such a fatal blow. However, I know that the power I have now is not long-lasting. It will decrease over time. If one day, I can truly master the power of a general and use the energy of crepe myrtle in my body at will. Then, I will definitely become extremely powerful. The man looked at me with shock on his face. No. This is impossible. You are just a mortal. How can you have the power to rival gods? I looked at the man coldly and said word by word, yes, you are right, I am just a mortal. But, I, a mortal, now have the power to kill you. The man backed away step by step, repeating impossible, impossible. If it weren't for the many restrictions in the world. Do you think you can be so arrogant now? I stretched out my right hand and shook it in the air, and the heart sword was held in my hand. A man's strength goes far beyond that. If it were, without the many restrictions in this world, I'm afraid, even in this state, I wouldn't be able to get any benefits. I unfolded the Nine Eyes Heaven Realm. This time, the scope of the Nine Eyes Heaven Realm was unprecedentedly huge. It covers almost the entire coast. I am too lazy to talk nonsense with the man. Now I must defeat him as soon as possible and then take Su Tianqian away from here. I disappeared instantly. The man's expression froze and he instantly went into a defensive state. However, even if he was defensive, I appeared quietly behind him. I raised the sword in my hand, and without any hesitation, I slashed at the man. The man turned back suddenly and made a secret with both hands. In an instant, the man's body was filled with golden light, and my sword struck the man's arm firmly. A powerful force burst out from the place where the heart sword made contact with the man's arm. The man and I were forced back by this force. I looked at the man coldly and saw a wound on the man's arm caused by the heart sword, and scarlet blood was flowing down his arm. When the man saw the injury, his eyes were instantly filled with anger. He looked ferocious and shouted at me, "Boy! How dare you hurt me?" At this time, I remembered the shame I had experienced before. I suddenly stretched out my hand and cast the heavenly secret, and 9 thunder talismans appeared behind me out of thin air. I waved my hand casually, and 9 thunder talismans surrounded me. The surface of the thunder talisman exuded a faint thunder light, and there was a faint flash of electric arc. I hold the 9-layer thunder Ju seal in my hand, raise the central sword in my hand high, and point the sword towards the sky. Boom! Deafening thunder resounded across the sky and earth. Thunder and lightning flickered in the inky rolling thunder clouds. I superimposed the power of the 9-level thunder Ju to the 7th level. Now, I have been able to reach the 7th level of thunder power. The 7-fold thunder Ju combined with 9 thunder talismans can superimpose the power of the thunder Ju to the extreme. When everyone present felt the aura of destruction, their expressions changed drastically. Yu Sun Tao and Jins, who came over later, also looked at me in disbelief. Yu Sun Tao said in disbelief next to Su Tianqian, when did he become so powerful? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 943. Su Tianqian did not answer Yu Sun Tao, but looked at me with worry on his face. After feeling the power of Leiju, the man looked horrified. Although he won't die, he will be injured. The man shouted at Jing Guangxian, "Why are you still standing there? Why don't you come and protect me?" Jing Guangxian heard the man's cry for help and was stopped by Zhao Mian just as he was about to leave. "Don't leave. Let's have some fun." Jing Guangxian said coldly, "Get out of the way." Zhao Mian was unmoved. "You two are bullying someone else? Are you still shameless? Even a shameless person like me is ashamed of you two gods. You claim to be a god, but you do despicable and shameless things. It's really disgusting." Zhao Mian said unceremoniously. Jing Guangxian was angered by Zhao Mian's words and directly started a duel with Zhao Mian. As an immortal on Penglai Immortal Island, Jing Guangxian's strength is naturally unfathomable. What's more, the evil thoughts in his heart have been completely eradicated, and his strength will definitely be stronger than before. But even so, Zhao Mian could still handle it calmly. And, it seems that Zhao Mian hasn't used all his strength yet. I never thought that Zhao Mian would help me like this. Although, he helped me because of himself. However, it is undeniable that only with Zhao Mian here can I fight against the gods. Zhao Mian has restrained Jing Guangxian, and now I can deal with the man wholeheartedly. The man looked at me coldly and asked word for word, "Do you know the consequences of being my enemy?" "I don't know, and I don't want to know," I replied coldly. "I only know one thing. If I don't defeat you, I can't keep my promise." The man was furious. "Boy! What you did today? You are declaring war on our gods. You have to think about it. If you kneel down and beg for mercy now, let me take her away. I can pretend that nothing happened." The man changed his mind after seeing my growth in strength. Before, he was thinking about how to kill me, but now, he is thinking about how to make me compromise. I glanced at him lightly and said, "So what if you are an enemy of God? You guys who claim to be gods are actually filthier than the most evil beings in the world. What is the true face of the gods that everyone worships and admires?" Zhang Yuqian, Shen Xia, Jing Guangxian, and the man in front of him. Who is not a person who will do whatever it takes to achieve his own goals. Compromise with a guy who exists like this. Don't even think about it. The man's expression became extremely gloomy and he said, "Do you think you can kill gods like this? I can tell you that I will not die. And you will die in the near future." I was too lazy to talk nonsense with the man, so I activated the soul-stealing blood hand, and scarlet blood instantly filled my entire right arm. Then, it flew into the air. The purple thunder and lightning swirling in the sky was instantly dyed blood red. If I were afraid, I wouldn't be standing here. My sword drew the thunder, and the bloody thunder gathered and circled in the sky, turning into a bloody thunder dragon. The entire sky was dyed blood red. The man roared angrily, and the golden light around his body flourished. He wanted to use his own strength to resist the bloody thunder. I slashed at the man with my sword. The bloody thunder dragon hovering in the sky roared down with my movements. Everywhere he looked was covered in blood, and the golden light emanating from the man was instantly swallowed up. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 944. Boom. Bloody thunder and lightning tore apart the night sky, and the roaring thunder filled my ears. I don't know how long it took, the thunder gradually dissipated, and the bloody light in front of me disappeared. But at this moment, I suddenly felt a sharp pain spreading from my mind throughout my body. Immediately afterwards, there was the ferocious and crazy laughter of the golden retriever. This thunderbolt consumes a huge amount of money for me. The golden retriever's consciousness that I had suppressed in my mind gradually awakened. However, the matter is far from over, I have to hold on until the man leaves here. I endured the discomfort caused by my body and looked at the man. Just as I thought, such a powerful thunderbolt did not directly eliminate the man. After all, the other person is a god. However, this thunderbolt brought him great harm. I saw him kneeling on one knee. His brocade robe was in tatters and his body was riddled with holes. Not only that, his face was pale and his expression was in great pain. He raised his head and looked at me with resentment. The man stood up and looked at the golden passage not far away. He flashed and flew straight in the direction of the golden passage. Boy! Today's shame. I will definitely pay it back in the future. The man stood above the golden light, his eyes full of viciousness and resentment. I pointed my sword at the man and said sternly, "Don't wait for another day. I will kill you today. Otherwise you will come to trouble me in the future." With this statement, I am completely bluffing men. Because now I don't have the ability to fight with men, so I can only pretend to be awe-inspiring. The man was really frightened by my appearance. He squeezed the secret with both hands, and a beam of golden light slowly gathered in his palm, and then suddenly exploded. This beam of golden light spread out in all directions with the man as the center, instantly filling the entire Penglay Immortal Island. Immediately afterwards, I heard ghosts crying, wolves howling, and wild beasts roaring from the island. The man looked at me coldly and said, "Wait until you get out of here alive before you say such big words to me." My face darkened. The man's actions just now had obviously awakened all the beasts and ghosts in the entire Penglay Immortal Island. The man looked at Jing Guangxian and said sternly, "Trash. What are you doing here? Why don't you leave with me?" Jing Guangxian broke away from Zhao Mian, who was entangled with him, and jumped onto the light path. The man glanced at Su Tianqian and said, "Wait for me. When we meet next time, I will take you away and kill you in front of him." As soon as he finished speaking, the figures of the man and Jing Guangxian turned into dots of light and disappeared into the air. When the golden light completely dissipated, all my disguises collapsed instantly. I put my hands on my chest and groaned in pain. Su Tianqian quickly came to my side and hugged me tightly. "Xiao Su, how are you?" I forced a smile at Su Tianqian and said, "Master, I did it, we can go home." Su Tianqian felt extremely distressed when she saw my embarrassed appearance, with tears in her eyes. "Okay. Let's go home. Let's go home." At this moment, Zhao Mian's voice sounded out of context. Logically speaking, I shouldn't disturb your master and disciple's affection again, but if you don't leave here as soon as possible, you won't be able to leave. I looked at Zhao Mian and asked, "Why do you say that?" Zhao Mian shrugged helplessly and said, "Do you know what he did before leaving?" Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 945. I shook my head. Zhao Mian said, "His method broke the barrier of the entire Penglay Island. In less than half an hour, the entire Penglay Island will sink to the bottom of the sea, and all the monsters on the island will attack us indiscriminately." My expression became a little serious. The location we are in is far away from the building ship. Maybe if we don't reach the building ship, we may sink into the water together with the entire Penglay Island. I looked at Su Tianqian and said, "Master, let's get out of here quickly." I originally thought Su Tianqian would agree, but I didn't expect that she would simply refuse. "You leave with them first, I still have things to do." I looked at Su Tianqian and asked, "Master, didn't we agree to go home together? But now you..." Zhao Mian chuckled at the side and said, "What can your master do? Of course, find something that suppresses the power of the general in your body." As soon as these words came out, Su Tianqian turned around suddenly and glanced at Zhao Mian coldly. Zhao Mian shrugged and said, "What? Did I say something wrong?" I grabbed Su Tianxian's arm and asked with difficulty, "Master, is what he said true?" Just when Su Tianqian was about to answer, Zhao Mian interrupted again, "Things have developed to this point. Is it possible that Su Tianqian, you have something to hide from your apprentice? I really don't understand you two. We care about each other and deal with each other, but we hide it from each other. What's wrong with being honest? Not everyone can accompany each other through difficulties." Zhao Mian's words made Su Tianqian fall into silence. After a while, she raised her head and said to me, "Xiao Su, the power of the general in your body will backfire at any time and turn you into a real zombie. There is a sacred object in Penglay Island that can help you suppress you. The power of a general within the body. My master wants to search for you, do you want to accompany my master?" I nodded without thinking and said, "I'm not afraid of anything in this world. What I'm most afraid of is being separated from you. There is a saying that goes well. Whoever leaves can continue to live. The earth doesn't stop just because someone leaves? But I couldn't accept Su Tianxuan's departure. Su Tianxian smiled slightly and said, "Okay." She helped me stand up and said to Yu Sun Tao, "You should go back to the boat first. If we are not back when Penglai Island sinks into the sea, there is no need to wait for us." Yu Sun Tao opened his mouth, finally let out a long sigh, and nodded in agreement. In this way, we parted ways with Yu Sun Tao Jins. Before we parted, Zhao Mian called me aside and said, "Your Majesty, I helped you with today's matter. When I ask you for help in the future, don't turn a blind eye or ignore it." I nodded. After this incident, my impression of Zhao Mian changed. If it weren't for our different stances, I think I would have become very good friends with him. Don't worry. If you ask me for something in the future, I will definitely help you with all my strength. Zhao Mian raised his eyes, looked at me with a smile, and asked, "What if I want your life?" I was slightly stunned, hesitated for a while, and said, "If you really want my life, then take it openly and openly." After Zhao Mian heard this, he laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha. Okay. When everything is settled, I will definitely take your life with my own hands." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 946. After Zhao Mian said this, he turned and left. I looked at Zhao Mian's leaving figure with mixed feelings in my heart. Once upon a time, I thought my biggest enemy was him. But now, he helped me. What is the relationship between me and him? Who was the person who was talking to me in the memory of waking up? Now I can be sure. I am constantly reincarnated. And every reincarnation has a purpose, which is to obtain a free body and break away from the divine status. I think this is the purpose mentioned by Xin Tian. Because of using the general's power, I am completely confused now. I have to spare a lot of energy to suppress the golden retriever's consciousness in my mind. I know I won't last long. Seeing my pale face, Su Tianxian came to me, stretched out her jade hands, and gently held my cheeks. "Xiao Su," she called softly. "I am here." Su Tianxian looked at me with tender eyes and said, "I'm sorry, I have always used my will to restrict your actions, but I never thought that you have grown a lot invisibly. I used to think that parting with you was just a normal thing. But I didn't know how painful it was until I actually experienced it." I looked at Su Tianxuan's pretty face. After this incident, the distance between me and her seemed no longer as far as before. Moreover, the relationship between the two of us is not as simple as master and disciple. Su Tianxian continued, "If breaking up is the starting point of pain, then I am willing to be there before the end." Su Tianxian hesitated for a long time before saying this. I asked, "What do you want?" Su Tianxian shook his head and said with a smile, "You will know later." I smiled and said, "If you don't want to say it, then don't say it." Later, Su Tianxian helped me walk along the mountain path in the woods. What happened this time made me know how important strong strength is. If I don't become stronger as soon as possible, then I still won't be able to protect her when a man comes next time. So, I want to become stronger. Must become stronger. On the way, I asked, "Master, what are we looking for?" Su Tianxian glanced at me and said, "From now on, don't call me master again." I was slightly taken aback and asked with some confusion, "If you don't call me master, then what do you call me?" Su Tianxian lowered his eyes and slowly said two words. "Tianxian." I looked at Su Tianxian in disbelief. Su Tianxian saw me like this and asked, "What? You don't want to?" I nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes. Of course I am willing." I hesitated for a moment and asked, "Then, Tianxian, what are we looking for? The corners of Su Tianxuan's mouth raised slightly, revealing an imperceptible smile. We are going to find a sacred tree. Sacred tree? I asked doubtfully. Su Tianxian nodded and replied, yes, it is the sacred tree. After Jian was defeated by Nuwa and Fuxi, his 3 souls and 7 souls were scattered and wandered around the world. Haoshan sealed Jian's body in a sacred tree. As time went by, the sacred tree evolved spiritual consciousness and took over Jian's body, and he became a general. Since the general is transformed from Jian's body and does not have Jian's soul, the general is an unconscious ancestor of zombies and the only ancestor of zombies that sucks blood. However, I don't know which link went wrong and allowed the golden retriever to have a soul. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 947. The golden-haired Zhang is not the same as the ancient mythical beast Zhang. The golden-haired Zhang is also a descendant of the ancient mythical beast Zhang. But this does not mean that the golden retriever will have to experience what our ancestors experienced. The consciousness in my mind should be Jing Guangxian's evil thoughts. Thinking of this, things became a lot clearer. I asked, Master, Tianxian, do you mean to find the sacred tree and use it to seal the evil soul in my mind? Su Tianxian nodded, shook his head, and said, you can understand it this way, but I have other purposes for finding the sacred tree. What purpose? Su Tianxian explained, the sacred tree grows on Penglai Immortal Island in the Land of the Sun. Find the sacred tree and take its essence to suppress the general's power in your body, and then attach the essence of the Sun tree to Jingxiao. In this case, you will have the ability to fight against the 4 ancestors of zombies. Zhao Mian also told me that the 4 ancestors of zombies will definitely come back to me. After all, Jin Mahuan pulled away those 3 souls before he died. Thinking about it, those 3 souls should have returned to the bodies of Yingguo, Hanbao, and Ho Cheng. There will be many people here who don't understand. Why is the golden horse just 1 evil soul? How could it have 3 souls and 7 souls? Although the evil soul is 1 soul, he can derive other souls through his own cultivation, thereby becoming a human being. Su Tianxian looked at me and asked, where is the Jingxiao I gave you? I scratched my head in embarrassment and said, I was afraid of losing it or damaging it, so I put it in Ji Yuntang. After having the heart sword, I placed Jingxiao in Ji Yuntang. Because when I was in Xiangzi before, I was shocked more than once. The Kixin sword is much more convenient to use than Jingxiao. Su Tianxian stared at me closely. When she looked at it like this, I felt even more guilty and said quickly, after all, you gave Jingxiao to me. Even if it is slightly damaged, I will feel bad. Su Tianxian nodded and said, when we return to Ji Yuntang, I will use some small methods to fuse Jingxiao and your heart sword. Then you can continue to use it. My eyes lit up, this couldn't be better. At this moment, a dark door appeared in front of me. I was slightly stunned, the gate to the underworld. I looked at the palm of my right hand and found that the ghost mark on my palm was emitting a faint light. The door to the underworld opened and Xiang Yi walked out. When I saw his appearance, I was stunned on the spot. Xiang Yi looked haggard and extremely embarrassed. Xiang Yi fell to the ground before he could stand still. I quickly helped him up and asked anxiously, Master Xiang, what's wrong with you? Xiang Yi took a deep breath and said weakly, Lu Su, Zhang Yachain has united with other city gods, the 4 ghost kings, and the 8 ghost commanders to start a mutiny in the underworld. We led our troops to stop them, but we were ambushed by them and were trapped in Bamang Mountain. I frowned. Zhang Tianji had told me before that he wanted me to fight against the 4 ghost kings and the 8 ghost commanders. I originally thought this matter would take a long time, but I didn't expect it to come so quickly. Xiang Yi in front of me is just a wisp of soul. From this, we can see how fierce the war is. I quickly said, Master Xiang, don't be anxious. Please tell me in detail. After we leave here, I will rush to rescue you as soon as possible. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 948. The marquis is not a marquis, the king is not a king, thousands of horses and thousands of horses are traveling in Bamang. Bamang Mountain, also known as Bamang, Mangshan, countless powerful princes and generals are buried here. Some people call it Ghost Mountain, and it is also known as the Oriental Pyramid. The tomb area exceeds 756 square kilometers and there are nearly 1,000 large ancient tombs. According to legend, there are dragon veins under this place. The one who rules the entire Bamang Mountain is the Bamang Ghost King. The true identity of the Bamang Ghost King is said to be Cao. Last time at the Lushan festival, I met the Bamang Ghost King while dealing with the disciple of the ghost painter. But that is not the real Ghost King, but something painted through the yin qi of the Ghost King. Even so, the Bamang Ghost King made me suffer a lot. Xiang Yi said in a weak voice, I don't know how Zhang Yuchain persuaded the Bamang Ghost King to let him lead the yin soldiers to attack the underworld. After learning about this, Emperor Fengdu ordered me and Black and White Vuchain, the bull-headed horseface, to see what happened. But when we got there, we were ambushed. Our yin soldiers suffered heavy losses, and we were trapped in Bamang Mountain and couldn't contact the underworld. So, I can only inform you about this in this way. This is really a wave of ups and downs. The Penglai Immortal Island matter has not yet been resolved, and something like this happened again to Xiang Yi. Master Xiang, don't worry, I will go to Bamang Mountain to rescue you as soon as I finish the matter here. In fact, Su Tianxian and I can't save ourselves now. Penglai Island is about to sink. If we can't find the sacred tree before it sinks again, we won't be able to leave here. Xiang Yi nodded and said, we can still survive for a while, so come as soon as possible. If you don't come, I will really burp. I haven't spent all the money I've saved over the past few days. Xiang Yi looked sad, as if the ghost money was everything to him. Okay, I understand. You can wait for me safely in Bamang Mountain. Xiang Yi's body began to turn into dots of starlight and dissipated in the sky. Before disappearing, Xiang Yi suddenly thought of something and quickly told him, also, don't let Mu Qing know about my accident. Even if she goes to find you, you can't reveal any information either. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiang Yi's body disappeared completely, and the door to the underworld was closed. I know the reason why Xiang Yi didn't let me tell Mu Qing. With Mu Qing's character, if she knew something happened to Xiang Yi, she would probably head to Bamang Mountain without stopping. As the daughter of Emperor Fengdu, if something happens to Mu Qing, the entire underworld may fall into chaos. I looked at Su Tianxian, and her face was also full of solemnity. I raised a wry smile at the corner of my mouth and said, this is good. The matter here has not been solved, and something happened over there. Su Tianxian nodded, looked at me, and comforted me softly, you don't have to worry too much. Although Xiang Yi looks unreliable, his character and strength are excellent. He will hold on until you rescue him. Su Tianxian is right. Although Xiang Yi is greedy for money, lustful, and very unreliable, he has also helped me a lot along the way. Sometimes he even puts his own life on the line. I naturally want to repay this kind of kindness. Su Tianxian and I quickened our pace and rushed towards the highest peak of Penglai Island. Along the way, I always felt like something was watching me secretly, but whenever I wanted to take a closer look, the feeling of being spied on disappeared without a trace. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 949. Because I had consumed too much before, and I had to spare my energy to suppress the power of the generals in my body and beware of the backlash from Golden Hair Roar. Therefore, Su Tianxian supported me along the way. When I smelled the fragrance emanating from Su Tianxuan's body, I felt an unprecedented peace of mind. Su Tianxian pointed to the top of the mountain and said, "That sacred tree is right there, have you seen it?" I looked in the direction Su Tianxian pointed. We were not far from the top of the mountain. From this angle, we could clearly see a towering tree standing on the top of the mountain. I saw it, it's so full of yang energy. From a distance, I could clearly feel the frightening yang energy emanating from that towering tree. Just at this time, the entire Penglay Immortal Island began to shake violently, and the roaring sound was endless. Penglay Immortal Island would shake before, but not so violently. I looked at the sea not far away and saw that the churning sea water had submerged 1/3 of Penglay Island. We have to move faster. We won't be able to leave when Penglay Island is submerged by the sea. Su Tianxuan's words were full of seriousness. I nodded and walked faster towards the top of the mountain. But at this moment, a huge white shadow suddenly emerged from the bushes on one side. I stopped for a moment and looked intently, only to see a big snow-white tiger blocking our way under the moonlight. The tiger is huge and majestic, with a pair of tiger eyes radiating bloodthirsty light. I froze on the spot for a moment, subconsciously protecting Su Tianxian behind me. There is no way I can deal with this white tiger in my current state. But it was my instinct to protect Su Tianxian. I looked at the white tiger coldly and yelled, "Where did you come from, you beast? Get out of here!" As soon as he said this, Baihu bared his teeth at me and roared. Seeing this, Su Tianxian quickly pulled me and said, "Xiao Su, you can't do this." I looked at Su Tianxian in confusion, and saw Su Tianxian walking out from behind me, walking towards the white tiger step by step. As he walked, he said, "All the creatures in Penglay Island have their own intelligence. We just broke into its chassis. There is no need to take action. Although there is a place for cultivating evil spirits under the Penglay Immortal Island, the island is still full of immortal energy, and the creatures living here are very intelligent." Su Tianxian came to the tiger, stretched out his hand, and said softly, "Good boy, we are just here to seek something, we won't hurt you." Baihu tilted his head and looked at Su Tianxian doubtfully, and the bloodthirsty light in his eyes gradually disappeared. I had long known that Su Tianxian was kind-hearted, but I never expected that he could remain so gentle when facing a beast. Su Tianxian turned to Baihu to find the old man and said softly, "Come here." The white tiger was indeed intelligent. After realizing that Su Tianxian had no ill intentions, it staggered towards her. It squatted in front of Su Tianxian. Su Tianxian stretched out his hand and gently rubbed its head and said, "I'm afraid this Penglay Island can't hold on for long. If you want to survive, go to the east coast. There is a building boat over there, you can get on it." Baihu was stunned for a moment, and then started to hum at Su Tianxian, like a big white cat acting coquettishly. "It's like thanking you again." Su Tianxian smiled and said, "Go ahead." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 950. Baihu rubbed Su Tianxian affectionately, then turned around and roared towards the forest. Immediately afterwards, the sound of roaring beasts echoed throughout the mountains and forests. Baihu glanced at Su Tianxian gratefully, then disappeared into the grass. Penglay Island sinks into the sea, which is a fatal blow to these animals living on the island. Su Tianxuan's behavior successfully allowed these animals to escape. There are countless animals on Penglay Island. Although the boat is large, it is rare that it can take away all the animals on the island. But in the face of disaster, whether it is humans or animals, few can successfully escape. So don't worry about this problem. I came to Su Tianxian and asked, "Tianxian, why do you want to help those animals? Let them leave here." Su Tianxian looked at me deeply and replied, "These animals are very humane, and the white tiger just now has at least 100 years of experience. We helped him today, and they will definitely repay our kindness in the future. I suddenly realized that this was Su Tianxuan's plan. We continued walking towards the top of the mountain and soon came to the towering tree. I couldn't see it clearly from far away before, but now I can see how majestic this big tree is when I walk in. The thick tree trunk cannot be hugged even by 5 people holding hands. The sacred branches are lush and prosperous, and the huge leaves are as green as emeralds. But there is still a slight gap between the size of the divine tree and the immortal tree. I was about to step forward but was pulled back by Su Tianxian. Her beautiful eyes looked around vigilantly, as if she was wary of something. I was not reckless, but stood beside her and alerted the surroundings together with her. At this moment, an unknown demonic wind struck, making the surrounding trees and bushes rustle. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly noticed 4 figures standing next to the sacred tree. I looked at the sacred tree with a stern look on my face. I saw 4 generals in armor standing next to the sacred tree. Compared with the ghostly aura of the Yin soldiers, these 4 generals have more aura of awe, and even their armors exude a faint white light. This is not a Yin soldier, but a heavenly soldier. Su Tianxian looked at me and said softly, "Wait for me here, I want to give you a gift." But before I could finish speaking, Su Tianxian smiled at me and said, "Be good." This word goodbye made me stunned for a moment. After what happened just now, the distance between me and Su Tianxian has been invisibly shortened. This makes me very happy. It seems that she is no longer the aloof and cold heavenly master Su Tianxian, but has become a little girl, beautiful, kind, and loves to cry and laugh. This is probably her truest appearance. I stood there and did not step forward. Going up in my current state would only be of no help. It would be better to stand aside and watch silently. If Su Tianxian is in any danger, I can take action as soon as possible. Su Tianxian walked slowly toward the 4 heavenly soldiers with lotus steps. The 4 heavenly soldiers immediately entered a state of alert after seeing Su Tianxian. They drew out the long knives from their waists, stared at her fiercely with fierce looks in their eyes. Su Tianxian came to the heavenly soldiers calmly. One of the heavenly soldiers said coldly, "Leave quickly. If you don't leave, don't blame us for being cruel."